Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jewel for the Society of High Prairie Regional Environmental Action Committee, REAC. We're partnering with the Peace River Environment Society, represented by my colleague Wanda, to present this webinar series, The Real Effects of Nuclear Power, What the Industry Isn't Telling Us. At our first expert panel, hosted by Keepers of the Water in April 2026, we spoke with 6 experts in the field of nuclear science, human health, Indigenous and community concerns. One of these experts said you could be forgiven for thinking that nuclear power is the best thing ever because that's all we're told. Yet there are so many horrific and long-lasting effects that we are not told about. And that's why we felt the need to explore further. Welcome back to today's webinar, Community Response to a Nuclear Proposal. Here's Wanda for Peace River Environment Society.
Pat McNamara became involved in nuclear issues in 2003 in Port Hope, Ontario, when their citizen group, Families Against Radiation Exposure, forced the cancellation of Cameco's project. Cameco had planned a downblending operation using excess weapons-grade plutonium and uranium they bought from Russia. In 2004, he discovered the gymnasium and kindergarten area of the elementary school his daughters attended was built on radioactive waste. Exposed it, and forced cleanup. Pat worked with groups in Northern Alberta from 2007 to 2011 to stop Bruce Power's attempt to build nuclear reactors in the Peace Country. Pat moved to Manning, Alberta in May of 2025 to help the Northern Action Alliance stop the current attempt to build reactors in Weberville area. Welcome, Pat, and the floor is yours.
Hello, nice to hear from you again. Doing it from long range this time. I'm up back in Nova Scotia again.
Okay.
The battles have changed quite a bit since the first project was announced back in 2010.
We're talking about the Alberta projects now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Pat, can you move your camera just a little bit so we can see your face? Perfect. Thank you.
I've never been asked that before.
Oh, well, just bring it down a bit because your chin's cut off. There we are. Awesome.
Okay. When they tried to build nuclear reactors in Alberta back in 2008, the communities across the Northwest got together. There was 9 different groups that were formed and over 100 members in those groups that fought back. So you knew what was going on everywhere. Currently, in the last year, there's 2 groups that are active, but very few members in the groups are actually fighting back. So it's hard to get people to get involved in the project, to do the work that's required to hold the county accountable, to hold the experts accountable.
Yeah, that's something we've noticed too in our membership. It's people are very busy with their lives. There's so much distraction, and people are pulled in so many directions. It's very difficult to get activity on these important issues. Yet, these are issues that will affect not just our generation, but our children and grandchildren and many generations into the future.
Well, part of the problem is it's hard enough to get people to come out to fight anything, let alone nuclear, because they don't understand it to start off with. So they're intimidated by the technology, so they don't even want to ask questions when they go into meetings. What we have to do is make them realize that there's a lot of parts of this that don't involve nuclear, that don't involve the technology. Like, you mentioned it earlier, there's no money available for communities to bring in anti-nuclear people. There's no money available for Wanda's group to bring in more speakers. They've had some, but not very much. We have to balance the scales out. Like Energy Alberta was given $8.4 million to sell this project.
To go around and do their consultations and their meetings. And I know our group was given just over $7,000 to in order to prepare our concerns and whatnot. So that's really a huge difference. The project proponent itself was funded to develop the project, basically. That's what you just said. Yeah.
Well, and
so
the difference between them and what you guys are saying, experts, those men are not experts. Those men are salespeople. So the Hennessyt family are salesmen.
And they're the ones that did the very first nuclear proposal in Alberta, too, before they sold it to Bruce Power. Bruce Power is the one that did the fighting and then discontinued it because everyone was against it. But again, it was the Hennessyt family that started the idea, and they're in it again. Then they're not experts.
Yeah, Hennessyt was a wine salesman, car salesman. They brought Hank Swartout in to be part of it to give some legitimacy to it. They had to put somebody from Alberta at the start of this project, so it didn't seem like it was somebody from BC or from Ontario coming out to do it. You know, it's the other reason that it's hard to get people to get involved in the project out here right now is that this is the second time in 15 years that the people that surround that area are being exposed to this. So one, they went through all this crap the first time around. And I know at that time we estimated, I think that it cost $350,000 for them to fight back in that campaign at that time. Not to mention,
and that was not funded by anyone. That was
nothing
just
was funded. That came right out of their pockets. And you have to remember, these are people that they're farmers, so none of them were activists. So when that news first came out, the same as it did this time, that they wanted to build nuclear reactors, well, it puts their lives on pause because none of them are going to live there if the reactors go through. So literally, those people were all in a state of shock when the announcement was made.
Which also makes it very difficult to act. Pat, can you take us through some of the numbers for the community in opposition to the project? There was a plebiscite recently. Can you tell us about that?
That was how we stopped it the first time, was that we ended up going door to door throughout the county, getting people to sign up one way or another, whether they were for or against it. So at the start of last year, the IAC had started the impact assessment, and the community didn't know anything about what was going on. So, where was it going?
The plebiscite. How did the plebiscite come about?
Yeah, we decided that they needed a vote because we remembered we were 88% people that were opposed to it. So we put a request into county council in Manning on the 22nd of May to do a presentation, and we were turned down because that was the first they'd heard that there was any opposition to this whatsoever. And they were doing a lot of scrambling, and they tried for about 4 days to resist us. And then I write what's called slam papers, and I copied them very widely. So we did that to them, and 2 weeks later they agreed to hold the plebiscite. But even then, they were still jerking us around all the way through. It was, if they didn't agree to hold one, then we were going to have to go around the county and get signatures to demand to have one.
Door to door again. Which county are we talking about, Pat?
This is Northern Lights County.
Northern Lights County.
Yeah, everything
which
was
includes Manning and Weberville, and what other places does it include in northern Alberta?
Dixonville, Hawk Hills, right up to I can't remember the name of the town up there.
High level? Not to high level.
No, high
no,
level.
That's Mackenzie.
Yeah, but there's roughly 4,000 residents, and those were the ones that we were trying to get in touch with. And the only way that we found that we're able to get through to them was to do the mail outs. So I think we did 15,000 mail outs last year while I was out there to inform people and to get them to file comments on. So what was happening was that they were doing their impact assessment, and they were welcome to put comments in, but nobody in the county knew anything about it because IAC was focusing all their efforts on Peace River.
See, and what I think that they've done is they've learned from the first go around, because they did not realize the first go around in 2007 to 2008 that there would be such opposition to radiation.
Yeah.
And so what they did this time was really underhanded, but a really good sales tactic, is they went around behind closed doors just like they did the first time, but for much longer. They did a much better job of getting more municipal leaders on side with them, to give them talking points, to really, so that they could allay any fears that residents had, and to really ramp up the talk about jobs, which right now is important with just the economy right now, that a lot of truckers are seeing pulp mills close. And this is an opportunity. The build would be an opportunity for them to be employed. So they really played on that this time around.
Wanda, I just want to pick up on something you said and make sure Pat is in agreement with this. And that is that the project proponents for the proposed Peace River nuclear power facility went around to recruit municipal leaders before the public had any knowledge of what was going on. That's what you said. Is that your experience too, Pat?
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. They did the same thing last time. There was 8 municipalities. By the time anybody knew anything about it, they had an agreement in place that they were going to share taxation revenue with all 8 municipalities, regardless of where it went. And that's how they got everybody to buy in. The other thing that they did was that they were in a time sensitive, so they were telling people, if the different municipalities, that if they didn't hurry up and sign up, they weren't going to get a chance to sign up. Period, and wouldn't get anything out of it.
That's what they did last time.
Yeah, so they went
Okay.
around and did the same thing this time here, but they were only meeting with one person from Northern Lights, and that was Ungarian. And the county didn't, the rest of the council didn't even know that he was meeting with them. The way that they found out was one of the councilors over Northern Sunrise, or in Sunrise County, informed them that he was meeting secretly with the nuclear industry. And that
Isn't
was
that something?
that was the first anybody found out about it. And
And
then
meanwhile, now the Terry Ungarian has formed, what is it called? Peace River Energy something? And
Alliance.
Alliance. And they're trying to represent all the municipalities as being in favor when people are still opposed. Isn't that something?
Yeah, they made that basically a lobbying effort now. It was just formalized this past week, that those 8 municipalities have formed a group, not just for nuclear, but for other economic endeavors as well. So they're all going to try and work together.
And an interesting thing that was said by the economic development officer down in Rycroft area, I said to him at the first meeting when Dr. Alexander was going after you, Jewel, and I said to him, why aren't we doing what your county did and putting in batteries to store energy so that you can reduce the draw on the grid by your residents? Why aren't more municipalities looking at that? And then you could build solar and feed those batteries. And he turned to me, and I'm sure it's because I caught him off guard, and he says, because you don't make money. We found out you don't make money doing that. And so, people have got elected officials, and their driving goal is to make money. And so the nuclear industry pops up out of nowhere, and they are promising them millions in tax revenue, and everything else they just shut their ears to, because that is so enticing to a municipal councillor. And so,
Well,
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I hear you, but I just want to get back to Pat's point about the community opposition. So, Pat, if you could give us the numbers again, you said last time, so we're talking 2008 to 2011, it was 87% in opposition. And
Yeah.
so this time, with the lack of communication from the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, from the so-called Peace River, Energy Association. Like nobody told people what was happening. They all this was going on behind people's back. So by the time the plebiscite came, what was the numbers this time? And can you also take us over to the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada submissions, because you have numbers there for people opposed.
Okay, the way that it worked out on the plebiscite was that countywide, 57% of people were opposed to the project. That was one of two questions. The other question was 60% of people wanted more information, but there's already a solid percentage against it. Now, I'll get back to it in a bit, but they need a social license before they can set up a nuclear plant anywhere. And that that group that you're talking about all the different municipalities, it's called Prairie. They have the money that they're going to try and manufacture a social license now, i.e., the
And that's
community.
the municipal leaders that came together. How many municipalities are in Priya?
There's 8 of them.
Okay, the same 8 as before when they were trying to go after the tax revenues for nuclear. It's
Yep.
the same group again.
Yeah. But it changed a little bit from the Peace Energy Council that they had 6 months ago, because there was only 5 in that one.
Okay. So
So
now it's
anyway,
back to the original 8.
yeah. So 57% of people in the county are against it, according to the plebiscite. Now you have
In
to
Northern
remember,
Lights County, that's one of the 8
in,
municipalities.
yeah,
Have there ever been plebiscites in any of the other
nobody
municipalities?
nobody else has been able to get one because the nuclear industry tries to stop them because they never win them.
Oh, so what about
They
at
had it.
the imp?
They had a meeting last year with the municipalities. It was right at the time it was starting, and they brought out the mayor of Pickering, Ontario, where there's 8 nuclear reactors, and he told the group of mayors and reeves and councillors, whatever you do, don't let it go to a referendum because you won't win. So we know that.
Yeah,
Okay,
somehow people inherently understand the real risks and long-term dangers. Today, we're talking about the community's approach and how it's trying to be stifled. But some of our other experts are medical doctors and scientists and people with the specific information that is the reason why people are concerned about nuclear.
see, the thing that we should be encouraged by is that we have 57% of people against it, and that's with having no resources to spread the word last year whatsoever, with no community members virtually helping out spread the word. So
Mm-hmm.
if we could get people to get off their rear ends a little bit and had some resources so that we can get out to people, then we can make that grow even more than what it is.
You know
Now,
what the difference is back in 2007, what we found is, though that was a generation who were like in their 50s, 60s, that was a generation of people who came together, organized events. That's what they did. And so it was easy for them because the connection was made by phoning people, or we use mail, or we use the newspapers. And we have moved into a generation in the 2 decades since that do not use mail, do not read the newspaper, don't subscribe to the same things that we did, don't organize events where people come in person. We have come into a generation that if they have concerns, they're on social media. And so we are not doing a very good job of our generation connecting with the generations following us to find ways to communicate with them and to activate them, because they don't activate like we did. And so
Yes, well,
that's a problem.
that's why REAC is doing these webinars, and we have someone of the new generation who is our social media intern, and she's, really helped us out, and that is the generational impact that we need. We really, really need that. Pat, back to you on the impact assessment of Agency of Canada's objections.
I just wanted to make one other point on what we're talking about there. Wanda was saying how we have to connect with the past generation. Well, part of the problem that we found out with IAC with their impact assessment was that the only way that you could submit a comment was online. And the majority of people didn't know about it to start off with, and they couldn't do it. When I started working with the Northern Action Alliance last year, the first meeting, there wasn't one of them other than myself that was on social media. So they didn't know of things that were out there. When I told them that we have to file comments, of I think there was 8 people at the time, there was only 2 of them that were able to file comments. 3 other ones tried and failed, and the other ones didn't even try. They don't use social media, so we have both extremes to deal with here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just
Very
the
good
young
point.
people. Yeah, it's not just the young people. So that's why we developed that comment form, because we could just get them signed by people and then just mail them in.
And you did do that, and it turned out to be quite successful. Can you give us the final numbers opposed over there at the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada to the proposed Peace River nuclear energy project?
It was around 470 to 130 that were for it, but 470 were against it.
Oh, okay.
And close to 400 of them were those comments that we got out. You see, that's one thing you have to pay attention to, is that when they run these programs, they like the impact assessment, they were getting all these votes in because they were targeting Peace River and Grimshaw. So all the majority of the comments that were coming in were kind of 50-50. And then all of a sudden we let people know in the county what was going on, and then it switched to 80% against. So this is what the community's got to be watching for all the time. This is kind of the only advantage to have me around, is that we've seen all this crap before from the nuclear industry, and every municipal government across the country is the same damn way. They see dollar signs in their eyes and they turn into idiots and liars.
Well, they certainly have an agenda that was put together without meeting with their constituents, and we're in a very strange place right now where some of their constituents of Northern Lights County, where the Peace River nuclear power project is proposed to go, like that is the place where it's proposed to go. Some of the constituents are trying to take this new PREA to account, Peace River Energy Association. They're trying to take them to account for paying basically a nuclear apologist whose claim to fame is that he worked for the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission at one time. He's certainly not on their website now, but Dr. Neil Alexander, you mentioned when he attacked me at the Manning Hall there, and I was quite surprised to see him pointing at me all the time. His big stick is, the concerns that people have are illegitimate. He's trying to say our concerns are illegitimate. And I just said to him, these are our concerns. You can't judge our concerns. These are what people are concerned about. And even one lady in the audience, I was so grateful to her for standing up and saying, please stop pointing at Jewel.
Yeah. And not only
Let me give you a little background on that. when they first announced that they were going to be doing the meetings, that was in the end of May, first part of June. Ungarian came out and he was so proud of himself. He wanted to lay everybody's fears. He was going to bring in an unbiased nuclear expert. Now, I've been at this 25 years. I've never seen an unbiased nuclear expert. So what he brings in was Dr. Neil Alexander. We have several nicknames for him. I won't bother using. But they bring Neil Alexander in. He's had a 40-year career in the nuclear industry from one end to the other. Now, what kind of makes it disingenuous by Ungarian was that Neil Alexander was the vice president in charge of nuclear reactors for SNC-Lavalin.
Oh, I did not know that.
So this is the type of unbiased nuclear expert. Now, what people have to do is they have to find out about this stuff and then rake Ungarian over the coals, because he's no more than a damn liar for saying it. There's nothing unbiased about Neil Alexander.
Right.
That's for sure. And
Okay,
and they
so this
paid
is
him a
where
lot of money to be there. And at the
14,000.
time, sorry,
It
go ahead.
was $14,000 to bring him in for 4 presentations. And when people find out about that, this is what I was saying about people can have an impact on this, even if they don't know anything about nuclear. You can't lie about who you're bringing in. He's trying to make the community feel better by bringing this clown in. We call him an academic whore. We're familiar with him and several others that are the same way.
Well, our expert sure tore apart his nuclear bananas theory. He's trying to say that, exposure to all the tritium and the radionuclides and all the things that nuclear plants regularly emit is the same as eating bananas. And our experts put a stop to that. They said it's not comparable. It's a different type of radiation.
Yeah.
It's a complete fog screen. And it's done on purpose to make sure people don't have the real facts.
See, when they first cobbled this together, Ungarian had 2 meetings with nuclear people, and he had Gary Thies with him. And council found out that he'd been doing it, and they admonished him. I don't know what the punishment was, but they did admonish him for not telling them he was doing it. Now, council had 2 meetings with with Energy Alberta and SNC-Lavalin. After those 2 meetings, everybody was on board with nuclear and they were driving forward. Now, none of those counselors, other than Brent, knew anything about nuclear whatsoever. Okay. And here they are after 2 meetings with the people selling the reactors. They're all for it. And they signed the whole county up for it.
Oh my goodness. Did they have non-disclosure agreements?
No, they just never said anything. You have to remember
Oh my goodness. They didn't even say anything, even without NDAs. Why not? They know people are against it.
They know people are against it, and they know that people aren't going to fight back. Okay. Like you go to a council meeting in Manning, and if there's 2 people in the audience, that's a crowded room. Now, when we went to get the final vote for the plebiscite, I think we did 1,600 mailouts in the week beforehand. We ended up getting 35 people showing up there. And that's what puts the pressure on councils to get off their ass and do something that the community wants. If the community doesn't show up, then nothing's going to get done. They're just going to do what they want.
And what they want is to make money. That's
money
the
and to run
benefit of nuclear to them, is the tax revenue.
It's not just that. It's like, go a little deeper here. God knows what they've been promised when this is ran through. Okay. Let's not forget that there's going to be on these projects, roughly 5 to 8% of them is graft. It's just bribes and bonuses and consulting contracts that have no work involved in them. So you don't know what they've been promised down the road. Excuse me.
And let's go into Alberta's proposed financial structure for this so-called proposed nuclear facility, because the province has already said that it will not be publicly financed. So all other nuclear facilities in the world are publicly financed because actual companies don't put their money in because it's so expensive. It's the most expensive form of energy known to humankind.
Right now, Ontario is trying to build 4 mini reactors at Darlington. It's going to cost $21 billion. They were given $2 billion by the federal government, $1 billion by the Ontario government, and they were unable to get any private financing or any institutional financing whatsoever. So it's going to be taxpayers that are going to be paying for it. There is nothing other way. The other thing that they did was last September, they jumped the price of power of electricity 29% in one day. Then they went
And it's
back.
going up again by 75%, Angela said. We interviewed Angela from Ontario Clean Air Alliance. Terrible in Ontario. So terrible.
But they hide it.
Yes.
The rates are going up by 29%, but they do it through the back door. So they give them a rebate, which is sort of like it's coming out of your own pocket to give a rebate for your power. And yet everybody's just like, we're getting this power rebate, not even questioning who's giving us the rebate. Oh, I'm giving myself a rebate.
Oh, man.
What's been paying for the reactors are the ratepayers. The last 2 reactors built were down in Georgia, and the ratepayers are on the hook for $9 billion down there. The Ontario Hydro is going to make the ratepayers pay for it there. The Ontario residents are still paying for the reactors from the 1970s and 1980s. When Ontario Hydro went bankrupt in 1998, there was $21 billion in unsecured debt, and the Ontario residents have been paying it back ever since. They're about at the $12 billion mark now. They don't finish paying for those old reactors until 2050.
And by then they'll be paying for the new, well, starting soon, they'll be paying for the new ones too. It's such a boondoggle. It's such a hoodwink.
A Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme because guess who is benefiting from that? SNC-Lavalin, Acus Realis, and frickin' Cameco, because that's their uranium product. Like, it's just, and they also own Westinghouse. They're also part owners of Westinghouse reactors. Like, it's just.
And which is owned by Brookfield, our prime minister's company.
Yeah.
And Brookfield's into the data centers as well.
Is that right?
My one-stop shop, and they.
Oh my. Well, we have these mega corporations, and our politicians are evidently involved, that are after short-term gain for long-term citizen pain, for long-term pain.
Just to show you how badly they've lied, when this was first proposed a year and a half, 2 years ago, SNC estimated that it was going to cost $4 billion each per reactor. Last July, Henusset was quoted. They asked him how much it was going to cost, and he said $20 to $40 billion for the 4 reactors, probably closer to 40. Okay, and at the time, I put out a paper, and I used all the other reactors that have been built in North America and Europe in the last 25 years, and it showed $92 billion for the 4 reactors. And now they're coming out this in the last couple of weeks. Now these are going to be $100 billion reactors. Like, where's the money coming from?
And at first it started at $4 billion per reactor, and then it somehow balloons to $100 billion for 4 reactors.
Yeah.
Well, that's typical, though.
I don't know if you saw that other notice in that story. Was it AESO came out and said that with the data centers coming in, it could see the tripling of provincial electricity rates.
Well, that's that's what they anticipate, but that is assuming that the AI bubble doesn't burst, first of all, which it very likely will. People hate AI. AI is not a
They're they're,
successful
they're just
thing.
talking.
They're losing billions, and it could burst anytime. And then
But
they're just,
data centers. They're talking data centers right now across the
yes,
board.
but that's AI. Yeah, the data center, if the AI bubble bursts, they don't need all those data centers. And, this is a very crucial point in history because, as we were saying, we've got all these mega corporations influencing and aligned with government that are basically going against our best interests as citizens and the interests of future generations. So,
Well, look at what happened with Alberta, the alternative energy boom. What did they do to stop it? They had to interfere as a government and put in a moratorium. They had to, because alternative energies, particularly solar, was taken off. And what's the bad thing about that? Well, the price of natural gas right now is in the toilet, and it continues to be in the toilet. Guess what gets it out of the toilet? AI data centers. So the benefit of having an alternative energy boom is for citizens. We reduce our electricity because it's the cheapest thing out there, well, other than wind. But what are they advertising for us to do? Go with the most expensive energy out there, nuclear. And it's just like, why? Because they've hoodwinked us. They are hiding the real reason why they're doing things. They're trying to save fossil fuels, keep them in action, because the delay in putting in nuclear is so long that guess what with a moratorium on alternatives, guess what keeps getting used in Alberta? Natural gas. So we have got governments that are behind the scenes rigging the system, because what would be really good is if all of us got some solar on our roof. That would be really good. And they have effectively tried to stop that.
and what I hear you saying is the reasoning is when citizens don't have to pay for fuel, all renewable energy comes without any fuel use. The sun is free, the wind is free, the geothermal energy in the earth is free. Once you put in the infrastructure, it's free. And they're trying to prop up the old system, which includes fuel, either oil and gas or uranium. Uranium's the most expensive one.
And the other industry that does not benefit from you and I having solar on our roof is the transmission distribution coming from long distance, moving those electrons from a major infrastructure facility that feeds a lot of people electricity. Well, what if none of us are pulling that electricity? Well, then how are they going to make money off of us? So
Yes, the distributed grid is so much stronger.
so much
So
stronger,
much stronger.
and it's so much cheaper for us, because anytime that the sun is shining, I'm not paying distribution transmission fees, and they know that. Jewel, with your solar, when the sun is shining, you are not paying the shareholders, you are paying
Well, I
yourself.
don't pay distribution fees at all. Like even in the winter when the sun is not shining, I do not pay distribution fees because I am a micro producer now that I have solar on my roof. I have no distribution fees, and not paying those pays for the whole system. But let's get back to our community response against nuclear. True, alternatives are a competitor for nuclear. And if more people did get solar on their roof, then, there'd be much less need for these large mega projects because we'd have a distributed grid, which is so much stronger in case of emergencies and stuff, all the climate change that's coming at us. But Pat, let's get back to some of the questions we had for you. I don't want me and Wanda to take it over with the alternatives because they exist. They're out there, and we just talked about them. But your work in Port Hope was so extensive and exposed so much malfeasance, really, in Ontario around nuclear. How is Port Hope now? I see they have a new nuclear proposal. Are they still working on remediation?
Yeah, they've still got, I don't know, several thousand houses to go yet. I think the final tally is 8,000 houses that they're going to have to go through, 8,000 properties. They keep changing the scope of the project. I think there's 3 times or 4 times now since 2000 that the CNSC has gone in and changed the cleanup criteria so they didn't have to clean up as much waste.
What are they doing at these houses?
Oh, going in, a lot of it's in the driveways and that because the fill material was used to pave driveways.
Oh,
Uh,
the fill.
yeah,
And they
and
have
then
to then remove that and put clean fill in?
that's right, and then truck it out to the storage mound out
So
there.
all of this radioactive contaminated fill that was used right there in town in Port Hope is being removed from thousands and thousands of properties and trucked where? To nuclear waste?
Just outside of town.
Is it a nuclear waste place, or like what are they
It,
doing with it?
it,
It's
it,
radioactive.
it is now. They just, it's called the Port Hope Mound, and they're putting, I think, 1.2 million cubic meters of radioactive waste in a pile. They're going to cover it with liners, and it's going to be safe for 500 years.
See, that's what we don't want in Alberta. Here they did a nuclear project and they snuck their nuclear waste into everybody's driveways. Like, I
Yeah,
shake my head.
it was a lot worse than that. But we should stick on topic because we don't want to get sideways into Port Hope.
Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left in our webinar.
The
Um,
thing people have to, the important thing that people have to take away from this is that they have to decide whether they want nuclear reactors, whether they want their way of life changed, whether they want data centers in there that's going to take up water and make noise and make electricity. And if they don't want them, they have to get off their ass and fight back. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. The council in Northern Lights is not going to go and do anything different now because nobody is fighting back. There's literally 3 people. That's it.
in
Nobody's
within Even though
nobody's doing anything.
57% of the county are opposed in their plebiscite, there's only 3 people ready to tackle them head on. But one of those, we're very grateful to Councillor Brent Reece, who wrote a really important bulletin called Nuclear Politics, which points out how both of our main Canadian federal parties are involved with the nuclear industry. And he's a counselor at Northern Lights. I imagine it's not too comfortable for him all the time.
Well, no, it's not. Definitely not. But by the same token, there's other things that he can do in there that are not being done because he's afraid of the other counselors. It's like Gary Thies optioned his property to that project, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. He's been carrying on business as a counselor in there ever since then.
So he's a counselor who optioned his property
Yeah,
to the proposed nuclear project, and he's not in conflict of interest.
no. During the election last year, he stood down for one vote, I think it was. But just 3 months ago, he was the counselor that they voted to send to Calgary to go to the webinar or whatever they had down there for nuclear reactors. It's like they're not stopping him from voting at all.
Incredible. So you
You
got
know, it's like we're not.
57% of the population against it. One of the counselors is representing them. One of the counselors is in complete conflict of interest. The Reeve went and started this group to get all the municipalities on board in favor, even though the population is 57% against. What a tangle.
You see, when we got the plebiscite last summer, they made sure that it was a non-binding plebiscite. So it's not they weren't going to listen to what the community wanted anyway. And that was never brought up in a debate. The nuclear, they were elected long before the nuclear debate started. So they've just taken this upon themselves, not listening to anything that anybody's saying in the community, and they're just running with it.
They just kind of went out on a limb all by themselves. And someone conflict of interest. How many councillors are there in Northern Lights County?
7 of them, including Ungarian.
And he's the Reeve, and they all have different districts.
Yeah. Like it's really spread out. Like it's 20,000 square kilometers and only 4,000 people.
Right.
You know,
Very
it's
challenging, yeah.
the key is okay. Let me explain it this way. They want to build a nuclear project right now. There's 4 proponents: Energy Alberta, the CNSC, because the CNSC does not operate unless they have more money coming in through licensing, IAC, which will do anything that the government tells them to do, and the county council. Those are the ones that want this project to go through. The only one that the community has access to are the county council. Okay, they don't have access to the CNSC. You can write them all you want until you're blue in the face, and you're not going to get anything out of it. And the same thing with Energy Alberta. But the county council is right there, and you know where they are every second Tuesday. And you have to use that information to hold them accountable. You have to show up at the meetings.
At the
You
county level.
at the county level. Like I don't know if you remember, Wanda, when we did this the first time, but we had like 75, 80 people in there, and they were all farmers, and the council were screwing people over, and the farmers let them know that they were pissed off at them. And that's when things started changing. But unless you get off your ass and start fighting back and start getting involved, don't expect this to keep going this way. Like we were able to get it to 57% with the work of just a few people last year, but it's not going to keep going unless people get off their ass and fight back.
Well, they certainly are with the data centers. People are up in arms about that. And I think with nuclear, it's such a mysterious thing. You know, there's this mystique around it because it's a complex technology, but it's not that complex. Like when we interviewed Dr. Gordon, he explained it's just a boiling water reactor. The complexity is the radiation. And, you know, it's really something that is
The
not
problem,
advisable.
the problem, Jewel, is that as a society, we've become cowards. We're afraid of media. We're afraid of everything under the sun. Like 3 people out of 4,000 coming forward. Like you can go check on the group page that we have. I doubt if there's Christ 5 comments in a year. Nobody's saying anything.
The
Nobody else said
Facebook
a word.
page?
Yeah.
Oh, there's way more than that. There's more than that, Pat.
No, go
You
through
mean
it
from
right
the
back to
local,
this.
from Northern Lights County is what you're
What's
saying.
what's that?
You're saying there's only 3 people from within Northern Lights County
That's right.
that are active. Okay. Yeah.
There's
Well, I hope
nothing going on. Nobody's doing anything. And unless that changes, they're going to get nuclear reactors.
tomorrow
No,
we're
nobody's.
interviewing Dr. Dale DeWar about radionuclides, and she wanted to call her talk "Fraudulent Forever" because they keep saying there's, you know, safe amounts, and there aren't actually safe amounts of radiation for human health. Any amount is dangerous. Well, that's what we're talking about tomorrow. But that's the kind of thing that people don't know. They might they might sense it or think that it's a possibility, but because these so-called experts that are being brought in deny that and lie about it, you know, that puts the question into people's heads. And, you know, are people going to accept the lies? That's really foremost in my mind. And that's why REAC wanted to do this series, to point out that this is what is in fact happening. Is a lot of misinformation, and it's coming from the promotion side, the people who are promoting it, the misinformation.
But you'll hear the most comment from the most comment from coming from the other side is they're just lying about saying that we're just lying about everything. And we say, be specific about it. And they will never be specific. We're not lying about anything.
So
Mhm.
Pat, your comment that we need citizens to fight back, we need them to show up, and we need them to rally around this. And
Yeah.
so I'm thinking that we need to find out so I'm thinking that react with your TikTok, or was it TikTok?
We have
And
TikTok, Instagram,
Instagram.
YouTube, and Facebook.
And so really that needs to be our message then. Instead of just saying this is information, we need to say this is what you need to do. And so we could put on templates that just kind of give points, and then they could just simply and give them emails of all of those counselors, and email every single one of them, because I find that if you just email or send a letter to one person, it's easy enough for them to do nothing about it because they can hide that. But if it's everybody, and include our MLA, include the MP, like those men are silent. What the heck? If this is something impactful for our region and people are saying, no, don't want it, thanks very much, then those gentlemen also need to hear our angst. And so I just think that along the lines of what Pat is saying, that we need to rally the troops, that we're going to have to get people to use email, use the social media platforms that they have, and because we're not going to get people writing in letters, and it's just not what they do anymore. And Pat, you guys already from the Northern Alliance, you already know the people that are against it and are not going to be on social media. So we've got to wade through to them. And like you say, we need to rally the troops. We need people to show up.
Pat, how do you think the Northern Lights County Council will react if they get emails from people outside of the county? Is that something they even have to consider? Because if we put their email addresses out on our social media feeds, they're going to get emails from all over.
Okay, there's a couple of things that you should keep in mind. One, they want to manufacture their social license. So they've got a couple of ways that they can do it. They know that they're not going to convince the county of Northern Lights. So they're going to probably try and include a larger area to do the referendum on. The other thing that they're going to try and do is how are they going to decide whether it's a willing host community or not? Now, the way that it was done in Ignace, Ontario for the deep waste burial last year, the year before, it was a simple vote, and they voted to go ahead with it 51 to 49%. And that's what we're recommending. That's why we went after a plebiscite here instead of just doing a survey, because you have an actual number. We have to have that something that solid to go on when they decide whether it's going to go forward or not. They're going to try and just do it through a bullshit survey, and it's going to be the county and the proponents that are going to try and make the decision on it. That we have to stop at all costs. We've got to make sure that it's a full vote of the county, and somebody should be doing a presentation to county council on that in September when everybody's back in school, and it should be widely attended by as many people as possible. That's the most critical thing going forward.
Well, Dr. Romana is being brought by the Northern Alliance, and we're hoping that he goes to Manning, Grimshaw, and I hope that he's also got an evening in Peace River. And to my mind, October, pre-October, we need to rally the troops, get people to come out for those presentations by Dr. Romana. And Pat, we should be ready with what you're saying, that this is what they're going to try and get us to do. They are going to try and like run a survey, run something so that they can cook the books on this region being in favor of it. So we need to know what their strategy would be.
The nuclear industry does the same thing virtually every time, and that's what leads to their downfall almost every time. Instead of just taking the high road, coming into a community, say, this is what we have to offer, what do you think? They don't. They go behind the scenes, they sneak around like a bunch of rats at night, and that's how they try and get these projects through. And they always
try and get the municipal leaders to sign on, which they did. Huh. Sorry. Sorry, Pat, I cut you off right in mid-sentence, but that's how they're sneaking around. They got the leaders on board without the people knowing.
Yeah, they're just slimy from one end to the other. Just background on Energy Alberta. When they first came into northern Alberta, they were caught lying 3 times in 1 week by the Edmonton Journal, and that was first week of 2007 in September. And the first lie was he had. It was Wayne Henusett, and he said he had bought property that week to build the reactors on. He said that they had signed contracts to sell the power from the reactors. Well, I can't remember what the third one was. Oh, they that they were going to file their application for 2 reactors with the CNSC. Well, the first thing that came out was they filed their application for 4 reactors with the CNSC, not 2. And the Edmonton Journal called them out that week, and the Energy Alberta had to admit that they had not bought property and had no sales contract signed whatsoever. So Henusett's name was going in the toilet. So that was the first week of November. So that's when Bruce Power came in, bought them up, and got them out of here, out of the way before they caused any more damage. And they managed to get their company name back and started this thing again.
Well, and here we are again. Back to the future.
See, a lot of people are fed up. The people out at Weberville and that, like they were friends. I lived out there with them for a year and a half, and they're just so sickened by it, and it's affected their health.
Yeah.
It's like when those announcements were made, they on the farm, you're planning several years ahead of time. We're going to build this, going to build that, going to do that. They had to stop because they didn't know if they were going to be able to keep going or not. And the people are in that position right now,
Yeah.
and it's not small places. One Herman's 18 quarters. They're making the land organic, and all of a sudden they've got to stop. They can't build barns. They can't build anything.
Right.
Their whole life. The kids can't ride the horses. Aren't going to be able to ride their horses down the road anymore. You're not going to have a herd of 90 elk out in your field anymore. Like the whole quality of life changes. And that's what people don't realize, is that when they're doing the plus minuses on these projects, it's just all economic. But what's the value of having your grandparents living just down the road, or the value of seeing those elk out in the field in the morning? We don't put a value on the intangibles, right, so they're not considered. But those people living out there, they consider them. That's what made their life special. That they want that quality of life. They don't want all the jobs. They don't want 5,000 people driving up and down the road. And if you don't want to give up your way of life, then you have to get off your ass and fight back.
Right.
In today's world, that's what we have. That's what we're up against. Yeah, we do.
I'll make one other comment, and this one's not going to make me very popular, but I don't give a damn anymore. When I was out there last year, there was about 5 men who were speaking. One was a farmer that moved from the States. The other one was a man that moved from South Africa. Another one was a man that moved from Quebec, and I'm out from Nova Scotia. There was literally one person that was from Northern Alberta that was getting off his ass and saying anything out there at all. The women, there was a cross section of women that were helping out, but the men just failed miserably.
Well, I'm sorry to hear it. It is a very challenging topic because of all the, the project proponents' misinformation and misdirection, really, in some cases. But where are we at now with the proposed Peace River nuclear power project? I know REAC submitted extensive concerns and comments. The comment period is over. You guys did amazing work getting all the citizen opposition organized and those letters submitted. But where are we now? What's happening to these days that people can participate in?
Well, they're going to start their push now to get the social license. So you can expect more speakers to come in. I don't think they're going to be bringing Alexander in. There are some decent nuclear speakers out there, and some that you can have a conversation with. Alexander's just an arsehole. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I was just really shocked when I went up to him to talk after the event was over in Manning, and it ended with him telling me I was trying to kill people. And I was like, wow, that came out of the blue. Like, this is a very irrational person who calls himself a professional.
He's been in trouble everywhere he's been. He was working for the University of Saskatchewan, and they were talking at the time about the deep waste burial and that. And he flipped out on the Senate. They were having a public meeting, and he flipped out on the Senate, counting the names and everything, and they turfed him right there and then. They fired his ass. Like if you look at his
Okay.
history, if you look at his
This is the
history,
kind of,
he lasts about 2 years in a job. You go through his history, and right now he's working for was a Canadian Nuclear Council or just one of these dogs breakfast groups and that. But no, he's an academic whore. He's using.
So I love it that you said that what they are working on right now is trying to get this social license. And so I say that's our opportunity to cut the legs out from under them. So we are saying, don't give them social license. People, you need to tell them that you are not in agreement with this, that they have tried trickery and they are using federal money for the pro-nuclear, and they've given nothing for people who were in, I shouldn't say nothing, they've given a pittance for people who are in of
in the
another
area
opinion.
expressing their concerns on the ground.
So we
Yeah.
need to attack them on that social license, what they're trying to do there.
Okay, here's one way of looking at it, and we did the same thing on the meetings they held last year. When they announced that they're going to have a meeting, you have to get a piece of paper ready to hand out to everybody that shows up at that meeting. You remember last year I did a 10-pager that we were handing out.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what went to everybody. So what we did was I call them piggyback promotions. They called the meeting, they paid to get everybody there, but we're going to go stand outside of every one of those meetings and hand out a piece of paper with our story on it. Okay.
And the concerns. Yeah.
That's activism. Okay, that's how you fight these things. We don't have the money to do all the halls and that, but when you go and stand outside one of these halls and you're handing out your information, the people that are going in to listen to them are going to really put a high value on what you hand out.
Because
And
they need the other side. They need to hear the other side.
and I also found it very powerful to have the guys with their trucks out in the parking lot. There was probably about 5 trucks, and they all were like, nuclear is a scam, like nuclear is not what they're telling you. So that's powerful because that's their neighbors. That's their neighbors who have taken the time to build these signs. Yeah.
Massive signs on trucks, on pickup trucks. Yeah, they looked really good. So the Peace River Energy Association, that's the group of municipal councillors headed by Reeve Terry Ungarian, who's working right now to manufacture social license. So we should tag them on our social media and
You
put
had their
their
name.
emails.
You
Sorry?
had their name. You had their name wrong. It's
Okay.
Alliance.
I'm
Peace
sorry.
River, Peace River
Energy
Energy.
Alliance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Peace River Energy Alliance. And we should, you said, put their emails out there so people can contact them. Okay.
Yep. And also, I think that we should also put our MLA and MP on that because
Okay. Yes, I got that.
they need to be disturbed as well.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a to-do item. I'm going to let our social media intern know. I'll research all the appropriate emails, and we'll slap those on all of our
Brent,
nuclear
Brent,
videos.
Brent would do it
Brent
quickly.
is one of the counselors at
Yep.
Northern Lights.
And he could get you all of their emails.
But they're online. I already have them.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, they're easy to find. Yeah. So
They're saying
that's one thing we'll do. Also, is the Northern Action Alliance not bringing in speakers? I understand Dr. Ramana is going to be presenting.
Yeah, the Northern Alliance, Energy Alliance,
Northern Action Alliance.
Alliance. Yes, they are bringing in Dr. Romana in October.
I would be also glad to present if there's an opportunity. I could I could go through our react concerns, or I could give an overview of this webinar series, which is
send
maybe
people to, yes.
interesting.
Yep.
The real effects of nuclear power, what the industry isn't telling us.
Perfect. Yep.
Pat, did you have any last minute suggestions for actions going forward? We got two things. We're going to put those counselors' emails in social media posts. And I've just offered to come out if there's ever presentations to give an overview of the series and or go through our react memberships. Very legitimate concerns.
what you should be doing is there's 8 municipalities. This is probably going to go on for a year now. That it's
Okay.
going to take them to do this. You've got 8 municipalities. You should be having contacts in every municipality to
Okay.
find out what's going on in each one. You've got to build the network through the 8 municipalities. It doesn't have to be 20 people in each one,
Right.
but you have to know what's going on because it doesn't show up in the papers.
It's not
Okay.
in the papers. There's no way to know unless we reach out to each of those 8 municipalities.
Yeah, and then once you have somebody that's kind of feeding the central body information, then you can find out. Oh, on the 13th, they're doing a talk. They're bringing so and so in to do a talk on this. So you go in and you go, no, this is wrong. That's wrong. You go in and hold them accountable when
At
they
their events.
at
So
their
they're going to be
event.
holding events.
They're going to be holding events the whole time. Go piggyback on them.
Right.
Stand outside, like that's what protest is.
Yeah.
Stand outside and hand out the flyers. Okay, and be sociable, have fun, and people will go to their meeting to hear what they have to say. But if as long as everybody's decent and pleasant outside, they're going to read your information too.
Perfect.
And that's about the best way of counteracting them to start off with, because it doesn't matter how much money you have to deal with media, because there's just such poor coverage out there that it doesn't matter how much you dump into it. It's not going to be that effective.
So they're trying to manufacture this social license kind of from the top down, from the municipal leaders, down. And we have to make sure that the grassroots has options and has an outlet somewhere to express their outrage and concerns, and social media is a great place for that, I have to say. So I'm glad that Northern Action Alliance has a Facebook page. So does REAC, Regional Environmental Action Committee, and so does Peace River Environment Society. So yeah, we have those things, and we will definitely be putting the webinars, once they're on our YouTube channel, we'll be putting them online as well.
Cool.
Cool beans. Well, we'll keep fighting it. We know that it's not in the best interest of the environment or humans. Tomorrow we're interviewing Dr. Dale DeWar about radionuclides and how dangerous they are for our health. There's a lot of new information coming out of the States about how even living within 25 kilometers of a nuclear reactor gives you an increased risk of cancer mortality, unfortunately. So we'll be discussing those tomorrow. And yeah, hopefully, the thing about fighting nuclear is the results of nuclear are so depressing. It's not very uplifting. And I really hear you, Pat, when you say that, when local people found out this is all happening again, it was a blow. It's a blow to us. It's mentally and emotionally difficult to deal with. Again, 15 years later, we thought we won this fight, and here it is again. But we have to be resilient and take comfort in each other, and just get down there and do the work.
The last word for me on it is that Energy Alberta wants to build the reactors for SNC Lavalin and Brookfield, and CNSC wants them built so that they can collect more money from licensing to continue operating, and IAC is just doing what the federal government tells them to do. Okay, those are the opposition. The only ones we have access to are the town council or your county council. Okay, those are the people that you know, and they don't know any more about nuclear than you do. So get off your ass, go talk to them, go tell them what you think. They can't intimidate you. They don't know anything about it either. Okay, like, time to be brave.
It is.
Put on your big boy pants and go talk to them.
It is. It is time to be brave. That's what time it is in our historical period right now. We need everybody to be brave if they're in a position where they can. People are dealing with a lot right now, but here's the thing: if we're not brave now, our children and our grandchildren don't stand a chance.
Yeah. Just one last thing. The Facebook page for the Northern Action Alliance is still operating. I'm still running that, and I'll be doing a series of papers on it over the next few weeks here now, so people can understand the intricacies of what they're going to try and pull off now.
Okay.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Pat, for that, for how to stay in touch with you through Northern Action Alliance Facebook. And we will carry on. We're not going to stop. It's our future on the line. We just cannot stop, even though it's hard. It's very hard. I just want to quote the elders of Chate in the high level area, who said that we don't have the we don't have the possibility of giving up hope, because it's our responsibility to pass hope to future generations. So we just, that's not even a possibility for us. We have to stay hopeful and keep that in our minds, that we're doing our best. We're all humans around here, but we're doing our best to make the future safe for our kids and our grandkids and everyone.
Thanks, Jewel. That's great.
Well, it's nice hearing from you ladies again.
Yes, nice. I'm so glad for your time, Pat. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Once
you,
again,
everyone.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
take care. Good night.